You know, today is the last day of school for the students for this
is what
term.
I realized.
Everybody, teachers have to have a work day tomorrow, I think, but the students get out an hour early today, and even my daughter left with a smile on her face, knowing she had some final exams to take today. So her friends were the same way. They were quite excited.
They've been counting the hours, I think, not just days, but hours for the last week or two. But teachers are the same way. It's nice to get out and have some time on your own. Have a break.
It really
and
is.
then they're soon ready to go back because their old friends scatter too. And one of the sad things about graduating is that the friends get scattered permanently and don't come back together again, and that's a sad thing for young people. They've been together all those years in school, but that's part of growing up, you know. And so our kids today are doing fine work, and I keep on keeping up with them, and I'm proud of what they're doing.
And we have a special class that's done some outstanding work.
Yes, Steve Garrett, Mr. Garrett, is a teacher in the high school, and he is giving his students an opportunity each year to do a special project if they go for it, and that is a study of their genealogy, their family lineage, and so on. And he assigns it, he tells me, in the winter or late fall, and they have several months to work on it, and it becomes, in many cases, a family project, which it has to do in order for them to get the information. If the family is not interested in helping them, there's no way those kids can get the information. Well, he has had some of the finest projects done this year that I have seen, and I felt that this was the time to share some of the things that they found. And I want to compliment him and his students. I'd like to call some names, but I will not do that because the students all did lots of work. But some of them did superior work that mature adults in genealogy would probably not be able to do, because they hunted up those original documents that proved births and deaths and marriages and land developments and all of this, all the way back to the first ones that came to East Texas. So Mr. Garrett then makes this a county-wide project by allowing us to make copies of them before they're handed back to the students. The students get their work back. Certainly we wouldn't want them to lose any of that they had done. But thank goodness for modern copy machines. Mm-hmm. We can copy those documents and file them in the library, and 100 years from now, their descendants will be able to find copies of the documents they found. And then the original document could get lost. After all, it's just one of a kind of the originals. And so we've had a busy time this week. He has to get them back to the students on exam day, you know. That's the last day he meets the students. So he couldn't let us have them to keep, but just overnight, you know, one day to the next. And then he had to pick those up for that class and bring us another class. And we've been at the copy machine pretty well this week, and he has too. He has been very cooperative to preserve these records, and still for the families to have them too. And there's some items in them that are just, well, they're just amazing. There's a letter that tells about the move to Panola County of the Bryan family that settled at Woods Post Office. And that letter was written by Ms. Destigier. She was a Bryan and married a Dr. Destigier. That's the way I pronounce it. I hope that's right. And she wrote that letter when she was 91 years old. I had seen parts of it. She moved away from here in her mature years, but she came as a 6-year-old child to Panola County, and she remembered vividly the journey. And in this letter, she described the journey. Well, we have very few letters preserved that were actual experiences. And this child tells how they crossed the Mississippi River on the little transfer ferries, and how scary it was. It looked like the ocean to her as a child, you know. And I had seen parts of that letter printed in years ago in Panola Watchman, but I had not seen the whole letter. And this child had a copy of the whole letter in her collection. And that book was 2 inches thick of information she'd accumulated on her direct ancestors from both sides. And now that is a wealth of information for all of the people close to her, because she now, that family has become knowledgeable about so many people that are their ancestors, and that's what we were hoping that they would do. So this has thrilled us all that the students have gone for it in this way. Now, Mr. Garrett assures me that not every one of them liked it, but I never gave an assignment in high school that everybody liked.
I understand that.
But some of them have done so much with it that the family will have a treasure forever. And I thought maybe we'd talk about some of the things that were in that letter about their trip and their journey. She tells about the coming to Panola County, Texas, in 1854. Now that's a while ago. Carthage at that time was 6 years old. Just a little crossroads is all they'd managed in Carthage. And Mr. Bryan, Allen Bryan, her father, had purchased the land that they settled on already ahead of time. And of course they came from Alabama, and times were hard in Alabama, but he must have accumulated quite a fortune, because he had 6 or 7 children at that time, and they came by wagon train. 50 slaves they brought with them, a herd of cattle, hogs, and she said there were 15 covered wagons in the train. Well, that's a pretty good wagon train to be a private group, you know, that came in. That's a pretty good settlement of people right there. And, of course, they hit the ground running to get shelter over their heads, started building houses of logs, because that's all that was here. They peel those logs and put up a house to live in, and then gradually expanded from that. And she tells the whole story of what the houses looked like, and all this in a letter that she wrote at 91 years old. And the person that sent the letter to the newspaper, she lived at the time she wrote this letter at San Marcos, in the San Marcos area. But the person said at 91 years old she was by no means a retiree, that she was very alert, and that all of this was from her vivid memory of her life. And she tells the story of how they got along during the Civil War. All the men, of course, were gone. Now, she had brothers, but those brothers were pretty young. Some of them went to the Civil War, I guess, but they had a larger family of girls than they did boys, so not too many of them did. But she told about how long it was before they got the news that the slaves had been freed. And then when they told the slaves, her mother told them, and in the meantime her father had died. He died in 62. Well, that's just the second year of the war. And that left the family, you see, without its head. The mother had to take over. And they had 4,444 acres of land, and it was definitely a wild area, she said, just an untamed forest. They had to clear a bit of the land that they farmed. And they went right to work when they got there, clearing fields to plant cotton and corn and the things that they had to have. And, of course, they, like their family, found this to be a rich area of forest creatures. Food was not a problem, because there were squirrels and there were fish and many other kinds of small creatures of the forest that they lived on. Turkeys, wild turkeys, and they were huntsmen always to supply food. Deer, they had wild deer, And so it was no problem, and they grew their corn for bread, and they grew wheat. But she said that their wheat bread during the war was pretty sad, that they had to grind it themselves, and they'd sift it and sift it and sift it, and still it'd have the bran in it, you know. And they raised sugar cane, and that was their sweetening during the war. Everybody had that experience, sugar. The things they had to buy became ungettable, let's say. They had to raise what they had. And this is the background story of every family that was here then, see. And even so, people in Texas did not suffer through the war like they did in Alabama. See, in Alabama, they were wiped out by the march through the South. Not just that, but Georgia and all, you know, the Federals went through and burned and all of that. Well, we were spared that here. But hard times were definitely here for a long time afterwards. And the father had died. And of course, she was born, she was 6 years old when they came. So that'd make her in her early teens during the war, you see. And she married then this young doctor who came in after the Civil War. And she reared a large family of her own, she and her husband. And they left Panola County then. But they have uncovered this, and that's just one sample of the kind of thing they've done. This letter is so amazing in that it goes not just into the suffering they did, but the enjoyment they had. She tells about how beautiful the forests were, untamed virgin forests. I used to hear when I was a child, I didn't know there were several ways to use the name virgin, you know, when I was a child. And when I'd hear somebody saying, oh, aren't those virgin pines beautiful? I couldn't understand as a kid what a virgin pine was. People that really appreciated and loved the forest knew that it was only a matter of time when we wouldn't have those. Of course, we have some that are replanted, but it's not the original anymore. And these pines were old and tall and towering, and they'd grown so thick in the forest that they had to go tall instead of wide, you know. And the birds, she speaks of the birds in her letter, and how joyous the springtime was. The winters would be hard, but they looked forward to spring. And it reminded me of what my mother always said, we'll be all right when spring comes. And so they lived through the hard times looking for the others and for better times ahead. And they always come, but we're not always patient to wait for them.
Very true.
But I just think that this is a tribute, I'd like it to be a tribute to the high school students and to their teachers who are still inspiring these kids to appreciate their heritage. Because this country, in this area of East Texas, we have the richest heritage that the state can boast of. And most of the world does not realize it. Most of the world thinks that Texas is just a cowboy's haven. But they're not. I've tramped around over a good part of the world. And when I look back over how many miles I've made in my lifetime, how many changes I've seen, I marvel that one lifetime could have seen a change in communication, in transportation, and yet we're the same lovers of freedom that our ancestors were, and so we have a heritage to preserve, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And we're getting it in, and when you see the younger generation helping to collect it, boy, that gives you a thrill.
There you go.
It really does. I know that there are other teachers that are pushing them to do similar things, but these are the ones that have come our way this week, and it has thrilled us very much.
Always puts a smile on your face, doesn't it?
Well, it just put. Now she tells about it, and I brought this book along to show you. McGuffey Reader. She tells about, even in this letter, the school books they use. They use the blueback speller and McGuffey Reader, and they use the math and so on. Well, of course, all these are out of print now. This is a reprint of their most advanced reader. But when you go into that, they didn't have grades at that time. They had up to page so-and-so the first year, up to page so-and-so in the blueback speller. And they could spell anything they could say. My mother could, the longest day she lived, spell any word she could say. But they learned to spell by sound, of course. And we've gone in education in circles, you know. We
seem to come back to the phonics.
We always come back to the phonics, and the sound of the word helps you to spell the word. Of course, some foreign words foul us up, but the basic English language is spelled by sound. But anyway, there are first McGuffey's Reader, second McGuffey's Reader, but this is not grades. It's how many days you've been in school to how far you can go. They memorized it over so far and then over so far. And when I first started looking at this sixth one, this was the top one. When I first started looking at it, I thought, well, here are plays, here are all kinds of things that I was teaching in high school. Well, this was equal to high school. See, these selections were from the masters. And they, not only did they read this, but when I studied Carthage School's beginnings, they studied Greek and Latin and all of that before they got a finished diploma from high school. And so when they went into education, the Masons pushed it to start with, and they went all the way, and the graduates had to have had certain courses, you know, to get a certain kind of diploma. They couldn't get a finished diploma without a lot of foreign language. Now, we're not so sure about the foreign language, and we have greater need for it than they did then.
Than we've ever had, right.
Yes.
We really do.
Yes, we really do. But I'm all for the younger generation. They're going to see things that they cannot imagine right now.
The world is moving so quickly and so close together through communications.
They are preparing for lives that they do not know what will go into those lives. We've seen that happen. We've seen it. We didn't get an education for what we're living now. You don't ever get through learning if you try to stay up, because it's always new discoveries of how you could use this, how you could do this. And of course, I'm having pressure all the time to think that I just ought to get with it on this computer business. And you know, I'm fighting that because I can't take time to do that. I'm running out of time. And I have to do it the way I can. If I stop now and go to school and learn computers, I've let something else wait all that time. And there may be a discovery I'll make. I don't know. Nobody knows.
That's very true.
But I have to go the horse and buggy gate.
We each have to go our own pace, do we not?
Yes,
we really do. Mrs. Brown, we're out of time, but thank you again for coming and sharing this fine story with us. And,
I'm all for our young people, and I hope they have a great summer and come back ready to dig in again, because they've got to be smart kids to face tomorrow's world.
They really do. And to our graduates that will graduate tomorrow night throughout the county, congratulations to all of you fine young men and women, and the very best of luck to them.
This school definitely gives them the opportunities, and we're all proud of that.